Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where owners, yes, they share their wisdom. It's short and to the point to respect people's time, and because we know transforming possibility happens super fast and it leads to lasting results. So enough of that. Let's get to it. I'm excited to have this guest here today. Question number one in a few sentences. Henry, tell me who you are and what you do.
I am the craziest guy from New Jersey you're ever going to meet. No, I'm kidding. Brad, thanks again for having me on, dude. I'm so excited for this. So real quick, in a nutshell, I spent the last 14 years in the branding space. I started as a graphic designer and matured this business into a multi-seven-figure branding agency. It's boutique. We only work with about 12 clients a year, but we've worked with some really awesome names like Jon Bon Jovi, Fabio Viviani, one of the celebrity chefs from Top Chef, worked with a bunch of NFL athletes and professional athletes all over the globe, and just really, really enjoy working with personality brands that want to make this world a better place. And I have been blessed and grateful to have the life that I have today by leveraging my business and my expertise. And I was put on this earth, I believe, to help other people monetize their expertise and help them get the best bang for their buck while they're still here on this planet physically.
Love it. I love it. I love how you dived into the service aspect of it and some cool names as well. I'm sure that's super exciting, but also the bang for the buck, because sometimes people forget that as they're serving. I dig it. Well-rounded. Totally. So thanks for sharing. Let's dive into question number two. You already alluded to it, Henry. What's the best thing? Dive deep here, my friend. What's the best thing about being in business?
The freedom, man, and the options. You know, I'm sure you heard that 1,000 times. You know, I'll put a little spin on it though. When I got married 10 years ago, myself and my wife weren't really interested in starting a family. We'll be honest with you. We were living a beautiful life. We were traveling all over the world, and we were like, kids, not our thing. Right. Then we got our dog and it was game over. People started seeing how we were treating the dog, and, we rescued this little guy. He was 4 years old at the time. He was a pit bull. And, we treated this guy like royalty, and everybody kept saying, you sure you don't want to have kids? Like, you're still young. Like, look at the way you're treating this dog. And we both at the time still said no. And then my wife started to get a little, I guess, the itch, if you will. And I had a lot of limiting beliefs in my head. I went through a horrible divorce growing up, watching my parents fight. And you know, I really, at the age of 6 was the last time I ever saw my parents talk to each other. Mm. And it was a really sad thing. And my father actually was the one that got custody of me and raised me. And I had this fear in my head that I would never be the father he was to me. So I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to touch starting a family or being a parent. And then I got some help. I got some therapy. I got some mindset coaching. As I got to become a stronger entrepreneur, I realized that a lot of it, 90% of it is mindset. 10% is actually application, right? So when I started to break through those skeletons in the closet and really find myself, I said, you know what, I could be a dad. And now, ironically, when my parents tried to have a family, they tried for 16 years. They couldn't. Like, my father had issues. My mother had issues. Medicine wasn't the way it is today. So it was very hard to find, you know, the reason why they couldn't conceive. And lo and behold, medicine got better. And here I am, right? 9 months later, after a short surgery that my mom went through. And then when we tried to have a family, we were going through the same problems. It took us 2 years to figure it out. And so going through that, you know, my wife, I got to give her props, you know, it's a lot harder on the woman, in my opinion, than the man. So I give her props for just being consistent and persistent and continue to try and try and try. So now we have a 4-year-old son, and he is probably the best thing, one of the best things, if not the best thing that has ever happened to my life. So the best thing about being a business owner is having the time with him, because I see a lot of my son's friends, fathers, who don't have the time because they're traveling, they're commuting, they're busy, they're important people, and they just don't have the time. And I said to myself, you know what? This is a great experience for me, but it's also going to be a great experience for him. As he continues to get older, he's going to start Googling his dad's name. And I need to make sure that I'm making him proud by what he reads, what he sees, what he listens to. He might bump into this podcast, Brad. Who knows? Right. So, you know, it doesn't matter what show I'm on. I always give him a shout, because there will come a time where he's going to listen to this, and I want him to be proud. So a lot of what I do today is paving the way and dropping those stepping stones, called the journey of life. And when he gets of age and he can listen to this stuff, I want to help him through this content navigate through this rough world, because it is rough. It's a beautiful world, but it's not like we grew up. I grew up in the 80s. You know, I was an 80s baby. So there was a lot less distraction back then than there is today. So I give my son a lot of credit, being 4, having all of this media pounding him every day. I need to make sure that he has the right role model and the right focus and the right attention to get through this life. So I was blessed to have a really strict dad who got me working early and showed me what hard work means and what it does and how it creates a man. And so I want the same for my son. So the second part of your question would be to really show my son what it takes to own a business and be a dad, be a husband, and be a friend, and be responsible for people's online presence. And it's been a beautiful 4 years, and I'm just excited. As he gets older, I don't know if he's going to be part of the business or not, and I don't care if he is or not, but it's been a beautiful ride so far. So that would be the answer to that question.
I'm speechless. Okay, that didn't happen. However, we're never speechless, are we?
No.
However, I love your story. I love that you brought in a deep, purposeful, meaningful why into why it is that you're doing what you do. And I love you, Jimmy. You talked about discipline. You talked about being a real man in today's world and what that means for you. I appreciate your vulnerability. So you could have just said, freedom. I love the freedom of it, right? And I do hear that a lot, but I love how you just really drew in deep. So I appreciate you, and thank you for sharing. I celebrate you, my friend.
Thank you.
Question number 3. This is one of my favorites. We hear from other business owners that they're getting so much business. And, I'm going to preface this because even during COVID, the people that I was surrounded with, I imagine the people you're surrounded with, were doubling, still tripling their business. Like that is what we see when you frame it up. When you were talking about mindset earlier, when you get the mindset right, all else follows, right? So we see other people getting so much business that sometimes the chaos causes them some overwhelm. Can you share your thoughts on that with me?
Yeah.
Henry?
Oh man, I'll share some great stories with you. I mean, to your point, Brad, we had record-breaking months last year because people realized how insufficient they were online. You know, they didn't, the pandemic forced them to create an online presence. They thought they had one, but when they realized what other folks were doing or how they found, you know, their brand really didn't represent who they were. I was working with a solar panel installation company last year, and they were like, we're getting destroyed by our competitors because they're just out branding us. Right. And now it more than ever, we need it, because it's like I call it like the digital gold rush. Everybody's rushing the digital, and, you know, you're just going to get stampeded on if you don't roll, you know, with, you know, the new norm, if you will. So I'll give you some examples of how, when you get overwhelmed, that could break your internal systems. And I know you're a big systems guy, so you're going to appreciate this, right? So I'm going to go back about 5.5 years ago. It was like right before my son was born. We were doing some big business, right? And I was not prepared for it. I did not have the systems and processes that I have today in place. So I was getting some pretty high volume, some pretty high caliber, high profile clients. And now I look back, it was pretty embarrassing, because we would get to a certain part of the project and the project would just self-destruct because I didn't have a wrangle on my systems. And I'll never forget it, Brad. It was when all hell broke loose. I had 2 disgruntled clients at the same time ask for refunds, and I always do the right thing. So I'm like, here you go. It was 40 grand in one day. And back then I was not as financially intelligent as I am today. So I spent the money. I didn't have it. Right? Well, I had it to give back. Right? But that left me 40 grand in debt overnight. And I woke up and I said, can't do this anymore. Can't. And so it was that day I made a promise to myself that you will get your internal operation in line, because you won't have a business next year if you don't. And so I hired the right people, and we built out a very, very strong SOP, not only for my internal team, but for my clients, so that they can experience the branding process like nobody else. And so what my clients love about my program is that they always know what's around the corner before they get there. And if you're going to spend the money, because I'm not cheap, on me, I want you to feel like you're walking into a Ritz-Carlton. And that's what you get now. But had I not gone through, like, I thought hell was taking over Earth when I was going through that. The one client, I mean, I'm softening what the impact here a little bit, but let me throw a little salt on the wound. The one disgruntled client was very tech savvy. And, you know, back in the day, I mean, you still see it today, where you could like hire bots to leave you like 5-star reviews, like on your book or on your Facebook page. Well, he used it against me in a negative way. He went and he got all these people from like third world countries to leave me 1-star reviews on my Facebook page. Ouch. To the point where I had to delete the page or take it down. But what hurt the most was he had the messenger bots go into all of my friends, like all the people that I was friends with on Facebook, and message them all that I was a scam artist. Ugh. So this is horrible. Now, a couple points here, a couple lessons learned. Lesson 1, qualify your clients before you take them on. Had I done any research on this client, I would have found that he was a convicted felon for embezzling $1.5 million from 2 elderly women in Nevada. Wow. A couple years prior. I probably wouldn't have took him on if I knew that. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, make sure you have some sort of brand presence online. Because here's what happened. I was so consistent with my online presence prior to that happening. When that guy tried to smear my name, my tribe, my audience went to bat for me. And they actually did their homework on the guy and told me what was going on.
I love that.
They actually went at him. And so I'll never forget the day. My wife, she's a way better writer than me. She wrote like a press release that day on all my social channels of what was going on. And I went away that day. I didn't really go on social much. And that night I came back and I read all the comments in that post. There was like 200 something comments. Well, I was in tears, Brad, because of how my audience came to bat for me and told everybody, like, Henry, you're going through growing pains. Henry, I know you're not this scam artist. Henry, I know this is not what you want for your clients. I hope that everything works out. I hope you make the right decisions. I hope. So they were almost like my cheerleaders in a sense that made me realize, like, wow, you have a lot of people that care about you. And if you don't do anything about this, it's like a slap in the face to them. So, Brad, what would have happened had I not have an online presence and that happen? I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here today. So I hope this helps your audience understand the importance of online branding. And I'm not just talking websites, logos and stuff. I'm just talking about your presence, your message, your purpose, what you stand for, you know, what makes you different, those types of things. That's why that's so important. But having a process in place where your clients are going to come through and they're going to feel like they're getting an experience, they're getting their money's worth, they're getting the results that you promised them. Now that's what we do. So very, very important stuff.
You have me on the edge of my seat.
This is fun. I love this show.
No, I mean it because, you know, I say that jokingly, but I'm being very sincere. You do have me on the edge of my seat. This is the real stuff. Like, so, you know, we know, everybody listening, you all know, everybody watching, there's a lot of stuff out there online, right? And they're always talking about authority and presence and this and that, but you just illustrated a very specific reason. I mean, when we serve, and we're in the service business, we're in the people business. And I know, you know, that you're a deep servant leader. I know you to be that. But when we serve, sometimes we do make mistakes and we do get attacked at times. And so I love how you illustrated how having a strong presence, how having an audience, a tribe can really help you through those times. It's beautiful. Creating influence, not influencers, like a lot of they talk about online. I mean, that's a real business too, but you illustrated how it can really help you. And so I love that, Henry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's dive into question number 4. What other successful business owners like yourself, of course, should be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
I got a couple guys and gals for you. One would be Stephen Meller. Stephen Meller. You could look him up on Instagram, the Stephen Meller. He's got a phenomenal podcast. I'm sorry, not a podcast, a phenomenal Instagram account.
That the artist?
What's that?
What's his name? Like the artist?
The Stephen Meller, MELL.
Got it.
MELLOR. Yeah. Stephen has been a huge collaborator with me over the years. He's been growing his Instagram account exponentially. I mean, he's going to surpass my followership very, very soon. But real down to earth guy, knows his stuff when it comes to social media engagement, specifically in Instagram. But his principles and his practices could be for any platform. Like,
love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So he would be a great guest. Let me think of a woman who, Deborah Greggs. She's part of Tony Robbins's platinum mastermind level. She was a Playboy Playmate back in the day, and she did a cover with Trump which was actually really, so she has a really awesome entrepreneurial story that I think would, it would really, really inspire a lot of folks. So Deborah Griggs, you can find her on Instagram. I think she's the Deborah Griggs or Deborah Griggs. Two great people to be on your show.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. I look forward to those introductions. My friend, it is time for some wisdom. It's time. It's time. Are you ready? Are you up to the challenge? What piece of wisdom would you share with other business owners, Henry?
Well, here's the thing when it comes to branding. You really have to pay attention to how you position yourself online, because a lot of what you don't say is what people are judging. So you may think you may have the best online presence out there, but I could promise you that you're too close to your business. And what I would highly recommend is focus on the philosophy of who, not how. Who, not how. I got this from, it's actually a book that, the hell's his name again? I'm blanking on him. Hold on. Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. He talks about the who, not how philosophy. And this is what helped me get that 𝐂 Club award that you see behind me. And if you don't know what a 𝐂 Club award is when you have a marketing funnel, a sales funnel online, using the ClickFunnels software. Some of you may know what that is. And you have one funnel that has generated over $1 million in revenue. So, I have one funnel. By the way. Thank you. I have one funnel that did 1.3 million in 2018, but now we have another funnel that's going to break the $2 million mark. We're $25,000 away from it. So we are so close to getting this. But one of the things that I was taught not too long ago was you can't be everything inside of your business. And I know some of you may be just starting out, or some of you may have some years behind your business, but you're still exchanging time for money. You're still have too many hands in the pot. And that is stunting your growth. So the who, not how philosophy is not focusing too much on how to do things. Like you need to, as a personality brand or as a business, you need to stay in your lane and focus on what you do the best. For me, it's creating content. It's getting out there, being the face, and working with clients one-on-one with brand strategy. The who is, who are you going to hire to help you? Like, I'm the worst bookkeeper in the world. I don't touch my QuickBooks. I have a bookkeeper that does that. Thank God for her, because she reconciles my stuff every month, right? So it keeps it clean for the accountant. I used to design my own stuff. I don't do it now. Why? Because I hired designers that were better than me. Now the online presence that you see, yes, the direction comes from me, but I don't have to design it anymore because they do a better job at it than I do. So that philosophy has really, really helped me mature into that 7-figure entrepreneur that I always wanted to become by focusing on the who, not the how. So the quicker you can do this, guys, I'm not saying it's easy. You got to really trust who you hire and hire who you trust. But it took me 5 years to finally step back and say, okay, I need to replace myself here. I don't want you guys to go through that same growing pain that I went through 10 years ago, because I'll be in business 14 years this September. So when you can quickly figure out who you need to bring on your team to help you, instead of you trying to do it yourself, you're going to crush it. So a lot of you guys are still playing around in ClickFunnels or playing around in Canva or trying to create your own graphics. And that's the quickest way to fail, quickest way to fail. So hire it out and stay in your lane, and you will see exponential growth.
I absolutely love that lesson. And I think I'm glad that you brought it to the table, but I think there's a lot of people, and I know you're listening today and you're saying, yeah, that's probably me. So, but it's a big lesson. And I think what's important here is what you said about mindset. It's very similar strategy. So when you're the CEO, this is not new to you, Henry, you know this, but just for anybody listening and hearing that, I want to illustrate what he just shared with you in a different way. You're the CEO of your business. So yes, get in Canva, understand how it works, and then go hire somebody to do the graphics for you. So understanding the strategy is like 80 to 85%, but the tactics, go hire somebody, handle the tactics for you so you can get to 6 figures, so you can get to 7 figures, so you can get to 8, 9, 10 figures, whatever figures you want. It's different
Pretty
for
much.
everybody.
The sky's the limit.
It's huge. It's huge. I like to say the sky's not your limit. There's a whole universe of possibilities out there.
That's right.
I'm with you. I'm with you. We're saying the same thing, just in a different way. I love that lesson. I love that you shared that. And I love that you're on the show today. Let's switch gears because I know you and I can talk business probably for 24 hours straight. What's the most fun vacation you have ever had? I believe, and I imagine you do too, that we work to live, not live to work.
Yeah. So one of my favorite countries to visit is Italy. My mother was Italian. I married an Italian woman. So I am very, very, I have a Polish last name.
I was going to say, yeah, Kaminsky is a good Italian name, right?
A lot of my friends tease me. They're like, you're the most Italian Polish person I ever met. Cause I was raised by my father, but my father kept me in touch, and this says a lot about my dad. He always allowed me to go to my mother's side of the family. And I did, and I spent a lot of time with them growing up. So just hanging out at my house, you wouldn't, if you didn't know my last name, you'd think I was 100%. But one of my favorite countries to visit is Italy. And we like to go to the obscure places. We don't like to go to the tourist traps, if you will. So there was a really cool city that we visited a while back, and it's called Arezzo, and it's between Florence and Rome, and it's in the Tuscany region. And I got to tell you, this is the coolest city I ever seen. It's half modern, like New York, they're and then half of it is like the Roman times, like 500 years old, cobblestone streets, right? Like super, super old and like authentic Italian. So having that in the same city is so unique to me, especially as like a creative, a designer, like walking across the street and being in like a modern city and then walking back and feeling like you're in like an Italian village from 500 years ago is fascinating to me. And so that was one of the coolest places that I've ever experienced in Italy. And then the other funny one was we went a couple years back, we went to Santa Margherita. It's in the northern part of Italy. And Portofino is only about a 40-minute walk. So we walked and we get there and my father texts me because I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm in Portofino. And he was like, did you see Jay-Z? And like Jay-Z's probably one of my favorite artists out there, one of them. And I said, no. And I'm like, my father, I'm impressed because my father's like, how does he know where Jay-Z's at? Right. Like he's at the time he was like 70 years old. Like, right. And so I'm like, so I Google it. And there was all of these like press releases saying that he was there 2 days before we got there. And he was staying at the hotel we were actually going to stay at. And again, my wife and I, we were like, well, we don't want to stay in Portofino. It's too touristy. So we stayed a little bit off. But had we booked that hotel, we would have probably bumped into him. And so that would have been really, really cool. But anyway, if you ever get a chance to visit Italy, shoot me a DM. I've been all over. If you need any tips or let me know. We're actually going next year for my wife's 40th. We're going to visit the Amalfi Coast. I rented a villa for 7 days, and we're going to bring her cousins, my best friend, and our kids, and we're going to go for 7 days and just enjoy and remember why we work so hard and do the things that we do for the people that we want to make the most impact to. So very, very important to celebrate your wins and enjoy life. Don't just work at it.
Look, he's still dropping lessons and teachings and values. I love that. And you're like Italy, like I am about Spain. I stayed 3 years in Spain, and just what you illustrated is like, get out of the big cities. All big cities are the same. Like, get into the culture and the people and meet the people, and they invite you to their homes and like they cook you dinner. And I love that. So I've been to Italy too. So cool. Great stories, Henry. I want to thank you for the investment of your time, for just being here, hanging out, dropping value, as much value as you did. For anybody that didn't actually hear a lot of value, so just scroll back and listen again. And if you're driving, don't be pulling that navigation looking for that city. Like, pull over first. Be safe.
Agreed.
I appreciate you being on. What's the website, social media, or when someone watches this or they listen to it and they're like, oh, I have to really reach out to him specifically about branding, but really just to reach out and just connect and all that. What's the best way for them to find you, Henry?
The best way, because I created my website as like my hub, right? It's like the place to find my podcast, to find my Instagram, to find my YouTube. So if you just go to Unique Designz with a Z at the end, not an S, .net, you'll get access to my podcast, my YouTube channel, my Instagram. I'm more active on Instagram than any other platform. But I gotta say, my YouTube has been picking up some crazy momentum over the past month. So if you want to check out the Brand Doctor on YouTube, go check it out. There's tons of videos there that'll help you build a stronger brand.
Absolutely love it. Again, thanks for being on. This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where business owners making sure 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's not all about the money. It is some about the money. It's about freedom, but it's also about sharing their wisdom and creating impact globally. Thanks for joining us.
You got it. Thank you.